Distingués participants, distinguées participantes,
Distinguished participants,
je souhaite la bienvenue à l'experte
I would like to
indépendante
welcome
chargée de
the
promouvoir
independent expert
l'exercice pour les personnes âgées
on
de
the
tous les droits de l'homme,
enjoyment of all
Madame
human
Claudia
rights by
Mahler.
older persons, Ms.
Les
Claudia Mahler.
participantes et participants qui
Participants
souhaitent faire
who
des
wish to
observations
make
et
comments
poser des questions à
and
l'oratrice sont
to put
invités
questions to the
à appuyer
speaker
sur le bouton de leur
are
microphone
invited
dans
at
les
this
3
time
minutes
to press their microphone
dans les
button
3 prochaines minutes. Après quoi,
within the next
la
3
liste
minutes.
sera close.
Once those 3 minutes have elapsed,
Le
the
temps de
speaker's list
parole
will
de
be
chaque
closed.
oratrice ou
The time
orateur
limit for each
sera
speaker
annoncé avant que la
will
parole ne
be
soit
announced
donnée à la première
before the
personne.
floor is
Le temps de
given to the
parole
first speaker.
s'affichera également
The time
sur le
limit will
minuteur à
also
l'écran.
be visible
Je vous remercie de
on
votre
the timer
coopération.
on the screen.
J'invite
I thank
maintenant
you for your cooperation.
l'experte
I now
indépendante
invite the
chargée de
independent expert
promouvoir
on the
l'exercice
enjoyment
pour les
of
personnes
all
âgées
human
de tous les
rights
droits de l'homme
by
à
older
faire
persons
une déclaration
to
liminaire.
make an introductory
Madame Mahler,
statement. Ms.
vous
Mahler,
avez la parole.
you have the floor.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to all the members of the Bureau. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, dear colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen, thank you also for giving me the floor, Excellency. It is a great honor for me to be with you today and to have this opportunity to present my recent report on future generations of older persons. I'm grateful that earlier this year we had the chance to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the mandate here in New York, but also in Geneva. Furthermore, I would like to express my gratitude to you all for your valuable contributions and collaboration with the mandate. Despite the challenges posed by budgetary constraints, we have managed to maintain a high level of engagement at various levels. This has included events with civil society actors, national human rights institutions, United Nations agencies, funds and programs, and member states, with the aim of strengthening the human rights of older persons. I was grateful for the opportunity to play an active role in the United Nations Open-Ended Working Group on Aging here in New York, which has now concluded its mandate. Dear Excellencies, colleagues and friends, we are facing a demographic transformation where the future population will be older and more diverse than ever. As reported by the Secretary General, the absolute numbers of older persons is projected to more than double by 2050, and the proportion of those aged 65 years or over will increase from 10% from 2021 to 17% by 2050. This shift is not just a statistic, it is a call for action. It requires us to rethink our approach to development, law, and policy, and shift it towards a real life cycle approach. We must take full advantage of the diversity and potential contributions of older persons while ensuring the full enjoyment of their human rights. This year's thematic report on future generations of older persons highlights the urgent need for structural changes to support our aging population. This necessity has been recognized by the World Health Organization in its World Report on Aging and Health and by the United Nations Decade of Healthy Aging. However, despite some positive steps, including the establishment of the Interagency Group on Aging in the UN, older persons remain largely overlooked within the international framework. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, while committed to leave no one behind, often fails to include older persons. For example, Target 3.4 on non-communicable disease addresses premature mortality, but excludes those aged 70 plus, even though they account for over half such deaths annually. This exclusion is just one example of many instances where an opportunity was unfortunately missed. We are ignoring not only the needs, but also the potential and positive contributions of the fastest growing age group worldwide. Excellencies, colleagues, and friends, one of the most concerning findings in this report is the persistence of structural ageism, which is exacerbated by the absence of a legally binding international instrument dedicated to the protection of the rights of older persons. Current frameworks lack explicit prohibition of age discrimination, fostering social welfare approaches that threat older persons as dependents and objects of care rather than as empowered rights holders. Furthermore, economic security remains a significant challenge around the world. Many older persons face mandatory retirement, ageism in the workplace, and inadequate social protection. Older women are disproportionately affected due to lifelong gender discrimination and caregiving responsibilities. Older persons are also often excluded from public participation in planning processes that directly impact their lives, such as climate adaptation and digitalization. Barriers such as digital illiteracy and social isolation hinder their effective involvement. Ensuring their participation is not only a matter of rights, but it also strengthens our social resilience by drawing on their valuable lived experiences. Dear Excellencies, colleagues and friends, to address the challenges faced by older persons and secure their rights, this report provides several recommendations. I call on Member States to work towards the adaptation of an international binding instrument specifically dedicated to the rights of older persons. Such an instrument would provide a clear set of obligations and guidance for Member States. Furthermore, it is essential to address structural ageism through comprehensive measures. This includes implementing public awareness campaigns to challenge stereotypes, integrate older persons into all levels of policy making, and ensure that laws and policies are inclusive and non-discriminatory. Digital literacy programs tailored to older persons must also be prioritized. We must ensure that older persons have access to the necessary tools, skills, and technologies to participate fully in our increasingly digital world. As we look at the Pact for the Future, we must ensure older persons are not left behind. They are not passive recipients of care, but contributors to the society with valuable knowledge and experience. It is time to transform our frameworks to be truly inclusive and representative of all generations. I believe that by implementing these recommendations, we can create a fair future that respects the rights and dignity of our aging population, ensuring that every human has the opportunity to play an active role in our shared future. Finally, I would like to remind you that the actions we take today will pave the way for future generations of older persons to live with dignity and full recognition of their rights. It is the responsibility of all of us to ensure an age-friendly future. And we should never forget that the youth of today are the older persons of tomorrow. I thank you.
Je remercie l'experte
I would like to
indépendante
thank
chargée de
the
promouvoir
independent expert
l'exercice
on
par les
the
personnes âgées
enjoyment of
de tous les
all
droits de
human
l'homme.
rights by older persons.
Je donne maintenant la parole aux participantes et
I will now
participants
open the floor
qui souhaiteraient
for
poser des questions
questions
à Madame
or
Mahler
comments
ou formuler des
from
observations.
participants.
Selon la
Addressed to
pratique
Ms. Mahler.
établie, je
As
demande aux
per
membres
past
de
practice,
délégation
I'd like to ask
de
delegations
limiter
to limit
la durée
their
de leur
interventions
intervention à 1 minute et
to
demie.
1.5 minutes.
Je vous remercie de votre coopération.
Thank you for your kind cooperation.
J'ai bien dit 1 minute et demie.
1.5 minutes, so 90 seconds.
Je donne la parole
I now give the floor
au distingué
to the
représentant
distinguished
de l'Argentine.
representative of Argentina.